This week we're going to cover wardrobe in the movies. To gain a better understanding, we're going to look at the history of cloth and how it relates to the human body. Seneca said about 2,000 years ago, "We live not according to reason, but according to fashion," and it hasn't changed since. Textiles are the colored artifacts most expressive of social values, and through these values, of ideas. When we go to the movies, the quickest way to understand the historical period, the sociological context, the psychology of the actor, is to look at their wardrobe. Some styles are socially approved, some aren't. But no matter who is looking, whether it's these people on the street looking at this poor woman here, who is a fashion victim. Few people want to become a fashion victim. This is an installation art piece that was done in New York. So let's join the critics and take a look, like this gentleman here, setting up his 1950s model, at how we've historically outfitted ourselves. If we examine the pyramids and the sphinxes and the large monumental pieces we've inherited from Egypt, we'll find that it's influenced present-day styles, and there was a period in the 1920s when there were a lot of anthropological discoveries that were rooted about worldwide, and one of them was King Tut's tomb found in underneath a pyramid in the Gaza Strip, and because of the treasures that were unearthed, it influenced the way the Art Deco style in the 1920s created a lot of their objects and their fashion. And here we have a radio, an Art Deco radio, that was influenced by the designs that they found in the Egyptian tombs. So the Egyptian style influenced Art Deco style in the 20s with theaters and apartment houses. And even here in Albuquerque at our own Chemo Theater, which was built in the late 20s, a cross between the Egyptian style and the Pueblo style, making it a unique landmark in Southwest. In these Egyptian tombs, they found busts like this of Queen Nefertiti, and headgear was very unusual and prominent and influenced a lot of the way fashion designers in the 20s in their Art Deco style created their headgear. If we look at the hieroglyphs behind the tomb here, we can see, or in the tomb here behind the Tut's mummy, we can see the banded head and the dark hair, which influenced style in the Art Deco period. Headgear was a big discovery in these tombs, and headgear was used in movies with Greta Garbo here using a faux Egyptian headgear, or Elizabeth Taylor later in the 60s with her Egyptian headgear being a huge part of her wardrobe. And so combined here, we can see that dark barbered hair with the headband and then the floral pattern of Liz Taylor's Cleopatra, all reflecting back to the discoveries made in these tombs in the 20s. Here in this gold relief, we can see the dark hair tightly braided, and we can see it tightly cut here in that Art Deco 1920s style. The fashion itself, the sheath-like garments that we see in these hieroglyphs, were copied in a sense, or influenced the Art Deco sheath-like 1920s flapper gear here. And we can see the headbands influencing the 1920s look here in The Great Gatsby. These women are wearing the sheath dresses and the headbands. The tight sheath, the beaded sheath seen here in the hieroglyph, and here in a museum piece, these were beaded and woven kind of like a net that was draped the body in a very tight, revealing way, and has influenced fashion here in the 70s, a kind of a mini sheath Egyptian look, and then in our own time, the more elegant gown-like look with the Egyptian flared pattern, and here in the very bottle-like sheath here all the way to the present day. One of the things the Egyptians brought and influenced the Greeks was just to wrap the body in a fabric that draped. So here we have this Egyptian gold-like gown, but you can see it's less about the wings, more how it's quickly draped around the body, which is what influenced the Hellenistic period here in Greece. They began because of more the textiles that were being manufactured, and with Egypt, the flax was turned into linen, and when it got to Greece, that became a major part of the wardrobe. And the wardrobe was about draping the body so that it showed off its best features, and it was also easy to do. So here we just wrap it around in what we called the Greek chiton, which was a two-part outfit. Here there'd be, interestingly enough, geometry coming over from the Egyptians and influencing the Greeks influenced fashion because triangles and squares became a way of dressing oneself easily, but also showing a little bit of a shape. So this is called a chiton, which is a Greek wrap where we had a bodice that was belted high to give some form to the human shape. So we can see here in our caryatids holding up roofs in the monuments of ancient Greece, the style was to have drapery that would flow down in very vertical folds, and so it influenced the way people easily dressed, but also influenced the architecture holding up the roofs. It's that vertical fold. It shows the figure, but it also makes one very statuesque. And in a way, the people creating statues at that time created the human form so that it would drape better. Here, people were probably not built this way, but if you're going to drape fabric, you need the wide shoulders and the straight folds, and it's probably more about how it made the dress look better than actually the way people were built. If we look at television cable shows here, like Rome, you can see that the modern period comes in with the plunging neckline is actually something that we would have had more from the 19th and 20th century, but we combine it with this Roman look, and it becomes somewhat believable. No one questions it, so we can, but our modern audience can go in, get into the movie, and still feel like they were in time. Now the posters are different. The posters are showing the chiton being actually the way it was created back then, and the robes here, the Roman robes with the belt and the sash and everything is very much like that period. Here we have aristocracy being represented by the red sash over the purple shift, basically semi-toga. And here when we have the soldiers fighting for the Roman Empire, their outfit is a modified armor with a skirt, and so they have a cuirass, which is that solid part covering the chest, and the short skirt, and everybody else is wearing a sheath. We get a lot of this for our modern movie period, influenced by 19th and 18th century paintings that use these garments to better show the movement. It's much easier to paint and show some kind of action if there's a flowing of garments. Here we have Theda Bara doing her Egyptian role in the silent movies. And what they're taking from the Egyptian finds is a lot of the jewelry and ornamentation they found. They didn't really know how it was worn by the hieroglyphs, but they invented their own Hollywood version here. So the ornamentation of jewelry became a kind of a slash wardrobe. And we can see the modern version here with all the drapery of fabrics in the background, emphasizing the sensuality and the texture and the art department feel of it. But look at the jewelry again. It is the costume with the shift-like dress. And it got really carried away here in the silent movies. Here we have this flowing peacock-like garment mixed with the Egyptian headband period, creating an outrageous costume. And the only way we know it's probably Egyptian is because the art department has put some pillars in the background, some hieroglyphs. In the 1960s, here we have Elizabeth Taylor being pretty faithful to the Egyptian look with the dark hair and the showing off of the gold. Of course, the cleavage is modern, but the gold bands and everything are very Egyptian. And even post Liz Taylor, our dark cut hair is still the same shape, but a little looser, the garment more revealing, the colors a little brighter. And finally, we get to the present day Vegas, and the Egyptian look is mixture of bling and Egypt, with the big hair and jewels sparkling everywhere, accented gold and blue, which are very Egyptian colors because they had access to indigo and gold at that time. So this is the postmodern Egyptian look that probably can't be outdone as far as ostentation.